Have you ever played Roblox before and been like, oh boy, I'd sure love to be in a plane crash and die in a fire? Roblox is a platform that's well over a decade old now, and it's been around to experience the various trends and shifts in public interest over the decade. Actually, Roblox does more than just experience internet culture, it straight up mirrors it. One of these trends is the disaster game genre, which was prominent in the early 2010s, but fell off gradually as the decade progressed. A major factor for why disaster games were so popular in Roblox around the early 2010s is because disaster movies in general were booming around this time. Movies like Poseidon, San Andreas, 2012, Geostorm, The Fifth Wave, The Day After Tomorrow, Final Destination, Snakes on a Plane, Sharknado, Disaster Movie, yeah, it was ridiculous. And just like the movies, the games eventually got ridiculous as well. Like, it starts out all cute and basic with stuff like Roblox Titanic or Survive a Plane Crash or VIP, but then you get into the back rooms of these games and start seeing stuff like Survive a Spaceship Crash, Survive a Monorail Crash, and Survive Ice Spice. So where did things go wrong? And where did things go right? Well, to answer that question, we'll have to start from the beginning. I'm Breadian, and I talk about niche Roblox games, and today I'm covering the evolution of Roblox Disaster games, aka another old Roblox video that will probably get like 5 views. Please consider subscribing and checking out my other videos.
Duh, you took the long way, you goofy.
Nah, it's coming.
You thought I was filming you?
Oh yeah!
Alright, so we're starting out in 2008, and I'd say that this is a good time to let you all know things about this Roblox history research. For starters, the chronological order of this video is just going to be sorted by years, not individual months or days. Why? Because just because Roblox displays the date that a game was created, that does not automatically mean it's correct. For example, a game can be created in 2008 and not be published to Roblox for public access until a year or so later. Or several games can be used under the same play slot. Undead Nation is an example of this. I also made a long-winded video on it, please consider checking it out. Anyhow, I don't really think anybody really cares about the specific dates of Roblox games that came out a decade ago that barely anybody watching this video knows about. And if you do care, then congratulations, you are a loser. Perhaps the most well-known disaster game is Natural Disaster Survival by Stickmaster Luke. It's a really timeless game that's gone through very little core changes throughout the years. The gameplay has remained the exact same, that of which is surviving random disasters. However, there's additions of game passes, leaderboards, the microtransaction machine, and new maps. But yeah, it's basically the same game today that it was in 2008. But I do want to mention this one feature that always stuck with me as a kid, and I don't know why. There used to be a little yellow guy who was part of the map as decoration. Like, he wouldn't go away if the map changed. Then one day he just disappeared in an update. There really isn't much more to this story other than me remembering that you could stand on top of his head during an earthquake and you would be fine. Can you survive a plane crash? This game is basically the Area 51 of Roblox disaster games. By that, I mean it's been stolen, copy-pasted, and re-uploaded hundreds of times to the point where nobody really knows who the original creator was. Not even the Roblox wiki does. Also, I find this wiki page hilariously deadpan. There is no actual specific objective of this game. All you do is go on a plane and land on a deserted island. In that island are badges that no longer work and tools that no longer work. There is a plane in the island, but it is also broken due to Roblox updates. The only functioning things in the island are the hats and the teleport back to the airport pad. So yeah, you heard the lady. All you do is get on a plane and crash into a deserted island. What's interesting about this game is the brain rot copies that it spawned. Throughout the years, you had stuff like McDonald's planes, Dennis Daily. I remember there being a lot more back then, but Roblox search tool sucks for finding niche old games. Also, these games had stuff like Minions in them from what I can remember, since those things were popular at the time. time. Just take my word here. It was like the brain rot Skibbity Toilet Wednesday Squid Game type stuff that you see today. Literally just the same game, except they'd slap Jenna Ortega on the cover of it. But perhaps the games that I should be shining more light on would be the ones that followed in its legacy. In a good way, of course. This game has been constantly remade over the decades, and its memory stays alive through nods and references. There's hundreds of plane crash games now, but it's so interesting how this single concept and formula is still able to gain players. Like, yeah, the idea of a plane crash game isn't exactly copyrighted or anything, but all of these games seem to be based off of the original in some capacity, with the idea of a plane crashing into an island and the plane always boarding from the left-hand side. The standout of all these games recently is the Virtual Valley games remake, which has PvP elements for some reason. Like, as soon as the plane starts nosediving, you're allowed to start killing other players in order to fight over the parachutes and whatnot. Points for creativity, honestly. Also, a big thing I couldn't let slide is how dirty the fucking plane is. Virtual Valley games are basically known for their disaster games, as the group was founded by the Amazeman, who was a major pioneer of the Roblox Disaster genre, creating games such as Life After People, Survive the End of the World, Survive the End of Roblox, and Roblox Titanic. Roblox Titanic, just like the plane crash game, is a game whose main premise has remained the exact same throughout the years. Like, obviously the ship has gone through some major changes, but the objective remains the same: don't die on the sinking Titanic. The game originally started in 2008, where the ship sank a lot faster, but also was a lot smaller than it is today. There was a remaster of the 2008 version, but it's privated now, which means I can't play it for background footage. So let's just talk about the 2011 version, which is the one I remember playing on the family computer as a kid. The 2011 version is a lot more similar to the Roblox Titanic you're familiar with today. The ship is a lot more to scale, the sinking is slower, and the captain and crew member game passes exist, and basically give you God mode. The good ending was also in this version, where you save the ship and make it to New York. There's also little dialogue cues that you're allowed to do if you stand on a certain block at a specific time. Your character will say something like, "Women and children only, no men," or something along the lines of, "Your money won't save you." These are from pure memory, by the way. Roblox Titanic 2011 is just purely ingrained in my head, alongside other useless information, like Zombie Tower and Undead Nation. I made 20-minute videos on those games, for some reason. Anyways, to keep things short, Roblox Titanic is still popular to this day. Survive the End of Roblox. Like I said, the Amazeman is known for more than just Roblox Titanic. Okay, if you're an average, normal Roblox enjoyer, then you know him from Roblox Titanic. But if you're a die-hard niche game fan, Roblox version of a Disney adult, then you may be familiar with his other once popular game known as Survive the End of Roblox. Guys, I was just joking, there's nothing wrong with having a passion for old Roblox. Anyways, the plot of Survive the End of Roblox is inspired by the film 2012, and it sees you trying to survive the disasters within a place known as the Amazon City. The game starts out tame, with stuff like radio broadcasts and earthquakes and tsunamis destroying neighboring cities, and then stuff like a forest fire happens and there's a random UFO for some reason. Is risk a good thing? Risk means that you get a lot of... So how this game works is if you go by disasters, you get risk. What is it called? If you go by disasters, you get risk, and you go to shop in like the bottom right hand, and you can exchange your risk to get points. Sorry, that took me so long.
Dude, I got probed.
Already? What happened in this game that was like so dangerous?
We went up into the UFO.
And then out of nowhere, there's an earthquake that causes sinkholes to form. But like, massive sinkholes. Like the entire fucking map is literally falling. Like 16 by 16 Minecraft chunks are just fucking plummeting into a pool of literal lava. As the game goes on, basically what happens is there's a massive crack that spreads all the way to the back of the map, essentially destroying areas of the map in order to limit your play area more and more. Much like Roblox Titanic, every time an area is consumed by the crack, you're no longer able to spawn there. The Amazon City was a really nice map for the time. The map was divided into the urban district, the housing district, and the agriculture area. Also, there's a random meteor that just lands in the town square for some reason. You'll meet this guy named Bob FM, who's basically a reference to the Yellowstone guy in 2012. He lives in an RV and observes and commentates on what's happening from AM Mountain. You can actually meet him in the game and you'll get a badge. Anyways, the crack eventually bisects the entire map and causes a nuclear power plant to fall into the crack and causes a massive explosion. And then acid rain comes down on everybody, and in the most random addition to the plot ever, one random player ends up turning into a zombie and is tasked with infecting everybody. Yes, it's stupid. This was left out of the remake, and I can't imagine why. That was sarcasm. I said that because, you know, explaining jokes makes them funnier. You see, with that one, the joke was irony. Anyways, I'm pretty sure this was just because zombies were popular at the time, and we're currently kind of dominating Roblox. I've made like 7 videos on old Roblox zombie games from the early 2010s. I don't need this little zombie bit to reignite my old flame. Just go watch them, I guess. I don't know. Anyhow, the government, or Roblox HQ, I think, sends 3 rescue planes, but then 2 of them are hit by meteors and they blow up. Also, AM Mountain is revealed to be a volcano and Bob FM blows up alongside his RV, just like Yellowstone in 2012, whatever. All of the zombies drop dead for some reason that I can't remember, and then the plane finally arrives. But wait! There's a tornado at the airport, and never mind, it only lasts like 5 seconds. Not really worth worrying about. You board the goofiest looking plane I've ever seen, and then after a minute or so, the seats will spawn, where you have like 5 or 10 seconds to take a seat, or you don't make it. Because after the plane takes off, a comically large tsunami comes and kills everybody. I'm not exactly sure why the game is called Survive the End of Roblox, because the game only really concerns itself with the destruction of Amazon City and its neighboring cities. Roblox HQ or whatever government is still active and ends up sending rescue planes to the city, so the government is still clearly active. Does the world just go to shit after the game is over? Is that what it's implying? Does Roblox actually just end? Okay, I believe I have a real explanation. Originally, this game was called Survive the End of the World, and it was almost identical to the newer version, albeit with some minor differences. Anyways, the major plot remains the same, with rescue planes coming to save you from the crumbling city. Except this time, the rescue plane is called a spaceship. What's interesting is that while you're on the spaceship, a fire breaks out, and if you go upstairs, you die. Like your entire win is robbed of you in that moment. Survive the End of Roblox ended up getting a remaster many years later, and I kid you not, I genuinely think that this is one of the best examples of the old Roblox style being modernized. The way the city is built made me feel like a kid again. The old style is done faithfully, and the modern elements go hand in hand with it to recreate the childlike wonder you once felt. Also, there's a tiny bit of replayability, with different disasters having a chance to occur as well as 2 endings. It's an extremely well done remake, and it's a bit sad that this game is abandoned now, but I'm glad it happened in the first place, you know. I ended up rallying a bunch of players to play Survive the End of Roblox, and it seems that everybody actually liked it, so yeah. The Disaster Lobby. The Disaster Lobby is basically your standard round-based disaster game where random stuff happens except it's in a lobby. You know, the floating invisible box above the map. Nothing really to note about this game except it was made by Asimo, the guy who made Jailbreak. Survive the Disasters. In Survive the Disasters, you're tasked with surviving the disasters. What differentiates this game from its big brother, Natural Disaster Survival, is that the disasters weren't limited to naturally occurring ones. There was stuff like bomber planes, Sonic the Hedgehog, and a bunch of random stuff. This game got a sequel that basically follows the same premise as its predecessor, although both of them seem to be slowly fading in popularity, with both of them failing to hit 100 concurrent players. Regardless, the original Survive the Disasters has over 200 million visits, and it's left its mark on Roblox undoubtedly. Survive a Burning Spaceship. Survive a Burning Spaceship is an interesting entry because it's sci-fi. Created in 2009, this game is now broken, but I was able to get background footage for it. Why? Because starting over 10 years ago, I would record myself playing Roblox in hopes that I would make a YouTube channel one day. Like, I convinced myself that I was recording all these gameplay videos ahead of time so that I could just upload them a month or 2 later when I finally got a channel. Yeah, so that didn't exactly go as planned. Anyways, this game is really cool because there's more than just a burning spaceship. When you crash land, you find yourself on a planet full of hostile aliens and have to survive. There's also planes and stuff. It's really neat. Later on, the game updated so that instead of landing on some red desert planet akin to Mars, you landed on a more grassy planet with water in the middle. It was a really interesting sci-fi take on the good old sinking ship format that has yet to be recreated today. Survive a plane crash, but by a guy named Dark Arims. Survive a plane crash is a different version of the same game, but I want to mention it because I remember it a lot. This version of the game was made by Dark Arims, I think that's how you pronounce it, who previously made a game called Evacuate to the Moon, where you escape aliens by taking a rocket to the moon. Anyways, I wanted to mention this version of the game because it was a lot better made than the normal plane crash games at the time, in the way that there was an actual sequence of events rather than the plane just falling into an island. Dark Harim's version saw the engine catching fire, and then the engine blowing out, and your plane using control and spinning out before crashing into an island. After crashing, you would have like 10 seconds to get out of the plane before it blew up. Also, there was a science lab at the Winner's Island where you used the plane to get to a secret Easter egg area in the map, which would give you a rocket launcher. I don't remember the rocket launcher destroying objects, obviously, but it was pretty cool. I wish I had someone to pass me a red rocket launcher in real life. Survive a plane crash into Planet Zorg. This is a game that I only played once as a child. I logged in, the plane was already leaving, and I didn't feel like waiting for the ship to respawn, so I left. Like, bro, 3-minute wait for the ship to respawn? Even adult me had a hard time playing this. I didn't have my Subway servers at the bottom to keep me stimulated for 3 minutes. Anyways, the game is pretty well made for 2009, and it looks like a game that could even exist today. I'm saying this because there's still plane crash games today, and they are a lot less cool than this one is. The explosion at the end is super brutal though. I like how the game gives you a little tool to look at the ship though, since getting your camera to go through the window may be a little bit difficult. Also, the door to the VIP room for this game is bugged and you can just walk right through it, where the game rewards you with unlimited free points and a force field that's also unlimited. You can literally keep grabbing force fields, that of which will mess up your frame rate due to the particle effects.
Miss the sip.
Bro, you're so stop. It's so laggy.
Disaster Minigames. Disaster Minigames was made by a guy named Mad Dogs 1. It was essentially just your normal set of minigames, but it had the disaster theme slapped onto it. Part of me thinks that the original game was just called Mad Dogs Minigames because that's what all the game passes are called. Anyways, Disaster Minigames had some disaster-themed minigames. A major thing I remember about this game was being able to buy the subspace trip mine in the shop, and you could use it to gain an edge in certain minigames. Like, yeah, obviously it didn't kill people or destroy objects, but it would still knock them around. The game today is incredibly buggy. The lobby's lighting is bugged out, and it's just a giant flashbang. Sometimes when a minigame starts, it will only teleport half the players onto the map. For a random fact about the game's creator, he made a good amount of YouTube videos. Also, this video here shows him endorsing a Roblox game called Titanfall.
Hey guys, Mad here, and this is basically an updated version of my How to Get Famous on Roblox, which I will be linking to this. So the first thing, and probably the most important thing you'll need to get famous on Roblox, is a good original place. So try not to make anything like that's been used 1,000 times or something that's copied from anyone else, because it will be clearly obvious. So don't make any sort of mini games, as that's been made too many times. Try not to make a sword fight game, or just don't be Jared. Second thing you'll need is some way of getting people to come to your place.
In other words, this guy got a sponsored video before I did. Run. Run was a game created in 2010 by Heroes, a Mexican Roblox developer. The game involved you trying to survive killer balls. When the balls ate, they would multiply, and eventually the entire map would be covered in killer balls. On the contrary, if you were able to juke them out for long enough, they would starve to death and you would win the game. You're able to buy +1 walk speed and +1 jump power in the shop. Anyways, the game got absolutely fucking nuked. It was rumored that Heroes' account was compromised by Jared Valdez, a notorious Roblox Roblox Game Stealer. The game was then changed to the 2011 default starter place, known as Happy Home in Robloxia, which is what the game is still known as now. And for some reason, people kept playing this game. Like, I remember people still playing this stuff in like 2020. But anyhow, after the game was compromised, people had already copy-pasted his game, because that's what people did back then in Roblox. They stole games from each other. Actually, I think people still do that today. But I actually kind of like how it was done to some extent, because the copies of Run had a bunch of signs or whatever that said, in honor of heroes. And that's a phrase that literally stayed dormant in the back of my brain for 10 years, so they did something right in that regard. Monorail Crash. Monorail Crash is a game about a monorail crash. Who would have guessed? This game is actually pretty well made, and I remember it very fondly as a child. Basically, you start in a monorail station, there's like a little cafe and a TV telling about foggy weather that's causing car crashes. I'm not sure how that would cause the monorail to crash since you're just going in a straight line on a cable. But it does. Yeah, the monorail crashes and falls into the water and then plummets down the waterfall into a jungle. You then have to escape the jungle, but there's also an Easter egg for going hiking and taking an alternative route. You can then use your points to buy stuff in the shop, as per usual with these games. Flood Escape. Flood Escape by Crazy Blocks was made in 2011. You already know what Flood Escape is, yada yada. A sequel was made called Flood Escape 2. I'm pretty sure I broke that game. I never actually played Flood Escape 2, but I did join over and over again just to get the daily login reward. I'm not joking, by the way. I would literally join random games just to get the daily rewards. I had a 60-day login streak on Adopt Me, even though I never played it. I would log in to get the free skin crates on Ready to Die as well. As of writing this video, I have a 41-day login streak on Work at a Pizza Place. Basically, I would log into Flood Escape 2 but never actually leave spawn, so I ended up breaking the game. It doesn't give me login rewards anymore, but it acts like time is frozen. The limited time microtransaction on the right of the screen doesn't actually go away, and the game keeps saying, here's 3 coins for your 7-day login streak, over and over again. So yeah, that's all I know about this game. Disaster Hotel. 2012 saw the release of the game known as Disaster Hotel, a pretty famous game at the time. The game followed the events of a hotel being destroyed by several disasters. One thing you should know about this game is that the disasters go on for way too long. However, what I like about this game is how you can use objects to interact with the environment. The first disaster involves a fire, and you can either put out the fire with extinguishers or let it spread and torch the entire hotel and you can die in a fire. Then there's a great flood, and the game claims that the water damages you because it's poisoned with medicine from a pharmacy. Like, huh? In that quantity? Is there just a flood of Zans coming? Oh no, guys, the great flood of perks, run! After that, there's an earthquake, and I remember there being a bombing of some sort. That was random. Then there's an escape helicopter, and anybody who gets left behind gets vaporized by a nuclear strike. Also, I remember the thumbnails for this game always being clickbaity. Like you had Godzilla in there at some point. Fuck off, dude. Also, this game got a revamp at some point. Can you survive a tsunami? The answer is no, you can't. The once popular game is broken, but it was made by a guy who made Vampire Hunters, so there's that, I guess. Why don't they just call it a gas wave? But wouldn't that be like a, Oh my god!
Oh my!
Why is it so aggressive? Why is it
And I get fucked over.
Dude, I'm
Great.
alive. I'm alive. I fell on like the blobby.
That was not petroleum.
Dude,
That
I think
was
I lived.
petrol.
I lived.
Okay, yep.
That was
Setting the game down
that
to
was
1 million.
just
Okay.
explosion.
The next
Okay.
map will appear in the heat death of the universe. Dude, this is literally bugged.
I think yeah, it's soft locked due to outdated coding.
Sinking Ship was a game created in 2012 where the ship sinks. The lifeboats of this game look goofy. You can buy a little life raft that's Game Pass and it's funny. The game is still popular today and the ship has gone through several renovations since then. Tornado Alley / Honourable Mentions. Tornado Alley was released in 2012 and it marks the start of a 4-game long series, ending in the penultimate Tornado Alley Ultimate. The game was, as you guessed, about surviving tornadoes. As the game received more updates, It featured different types of tornadoes, like the Trollnado. Tornado Alley 2 was released in 2014, and it was basically the same thing, except there was stuff like hurricanes and sharknadoes and other game modes. Then came Tornado Alley 3, which I remember being hyped up a lot for. Like, the developer made a post saying, "This game truly pushes Roblox physics to the limit. It looks like the tornado is cutting through the blocks." And I remember joining the game and feeling nothing but disappointment. Full transparency here, I don't have any proof of him saying that. I'm pretty sure it was like a forum post, and Roblox forums were deleted years ago. But I swear to God that it happened, okay? Also, this game was a massive flop. I remember absolutely nothing about Tornado Alley 3 except disappointment, so that should tell you something. Then Tornado Alley Ultimate came out, and it's the most recent addition to the series. As you guessed, it's the same basic premise except there's new maps and new disasters. And you can carry people around. Zesty. Other than Tornado Alley and Roblox Titanic revamp in 2015, there really weren't a lot of new disaster games coming out in the mid-2010s. At least not major ones. There was Flood Escape in 2017, and Natural Disaster Survival kept getting players. There was a game called Roblox Britannic, but like, who gives a fuck about that game? Apparently not you. You didn't even want to play this game with me. You were like, wow, this game is so boring, even though I wanted to record background footage with you, knowing damn well what I was getting into. Okay. Sorry. There was a game called Disaster Master in 2016 where one player got the ability to control the disasters. That was pretty cool, but it never got updated, never caught on, and the game died. Survive the End of Roblox remake also came out in 2019, but we already talked about that game. Just go play it, it's good. A game called Survive a Chaotic Plane Crash is a thing, and it pays homage to the old Roblox game like its predecessor, because just like old Roblox games, it's poorly coded. Like, you can glitch out the game and ruin it for everybody if you have a grappling hook. The plane doesn't even break apart upon impact. The only fun thing about this game is how the winners use planes to cause mid-air collisions and break the plane. That's cool. Emergency Landing is also an honorable mention. It's pretty cool, just laggy. There's also this game that I didn't mention because it doesn't exist. Its thumbnail is pure clickbait using Minecraft. It's been used for 10 years now. It's called Survive a Train Crash. Ooh, a driver's seat? Whoa, what? Wait, what?
Josh, I love that photo.
What? There's an entire different section.
Gotta do like an obby.
Not just,
Why am I bald?
Oh, we're under
what
arrest.
happened to my hair?
You're under arrest. Can I go through the... What?
Oh, it takes you to a different game. It takes you to a different
Dude. Anyways, disaster games were a product of their time, like Survive Ice Spice or Squid Game or Skibidi Toilet, hopefully. The 2000s and early 2010s were filled with disaster movies, and there was clearly a demand for this type of game. But as time went on, they faded away. The only ones who stuck around were the timeless ones, like Natural Disaster Survival, Flood Escape, and Roblox Titanic, because, in some capacity, those games are quite timeless, even if they are a bit boring at times. Anyways, I'm Breadian, and I talk about niche Roblox games. Thanks for watching this video. Please consider checking out my channel, as well as liking and subscribing to see more videos on niche Roblox games, because they're niche and they don't get a lot of shares. Okay, I'll see you out now. Goodbye.
Stop edging him. Stop edging her.
Dude, it's like 5 frames, it's like 1 frame. Dude.
Dude.
Dude, this soundtrack's gonna run out.
Dude, this soundtrack is so... Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Dude, the
You might have done
soundtrack
it.
is just... Dun, 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 dun.
This would be good, like a nice beat for
Ice Spice?
heavy rock or metal band.
Dude, it just keeps
Metal.
going. Is it just gonna go like...